Welcome to Stock Traders Talk. I'm Fong, and today we're here with Mr. John Campo, president of New Columbia Resources, stock ticker NEWC. Mr. Campo has a diverse history and background in the Republic of Colombia. The company focus is on medical marijuana and metallurgical coal mining. In this interview, I'd like to cover New Columbia's high-quality blue gem coal and their new venture into medical marijuana industry. Welcome to Stock Traders Talk, Mr. Campo. Describe to our audience a brief overview of New Columbia Resources stock ticker NEWC.
Our company, New Columbia Resources, we have two subsidiaries. One is a mining company which has blue gem metallurgical coal assets, which is used to make specialty metals for solar panels and electric car batteries, which are two of the fastest growing renewable energy sectors. This coal is a specialty coal that's only found on the Kentucky and Tennessee border and central Colombia, where we are. As coal mines shut down in the U.S., a supply void is created. At New Columbia, we intend to fill that. There's a glut of mining equipment in the U.S. that we plan to take advantage of. We own mining concessions with tons of coal. Our work permit was approved. We're waiting on the final approval of our environmental permit to start coal mining. On that property, we also have plenty of rock that we'll crush to supply the road projects that Columbia has right now. We purchased a rock crusher that can produce about $300,000 a month in revenue, which is going to begin by the end of the summer. In addition to that, we also hold a significant stake in Sanibus, SAS, which is a subsidiary down in Colombia. And Sanibus extracts oil from medical marijuana and produces a dozen or so products that we sell in Colombia. We do this legally on an Indian reservation and sell throughout the country. We have hundreds of kids with epilepsy as patients, adults with cancer, fibromyalgia, and many other things. We were instrumental in getting medical marijuana approved in Colombia, and we plan to be one of the first ones to be able to export our products throughout the world.
John, as president of such a diverse resource company, can you tell our audience about your background experience?
I'm a former stockbroker, born to Colombian parents. Back in 2011, I merged mining concessions in Colombia into a public vehicle here in the United States, and we changed the name over to New Columbia Resources. As we were developing our mining properties, the medical marijuana boom was going on in the U.S. I was involved in a couple of those companies in the beginning back in 2010, and I knew that Colombia would play a part in this new industry, and that it was an ideal climate to not only grow but to research and develop products, because the cost of production is low, not only on the cultivation but also on the manufacturing end of it. The government in the United States, as you know, really doesn't have a clear path on medical marijuana on the federal level. So I think that Colombia is poised to take advantage of that, and that's kind of how I got involved in this.
What is the makeup of your board of directors and the reasoning behind your team?
Well, the board is comprised of myself and my partner. His name is Erasmo Almanza. He is a retired petroleum engineer from Colombia. He owns thousands of acres of coal and rock concessions. And what we're doing is we're putting these concessions inside of New Columbia Resources. As we develop these properties further, we're going to add board members that have mining backgrounds, and then as well, we will add board members that have background in medical marijuana or a scientific background that can help us develop that part of the business.
Tell us about your strategic direction of NEWC.
Well, our objective is to develop the mining and rock gravel business by partnering with U.S. operators. You know, since coal mining is shutting down here in the U.S., there's good operators with equipment that we can tap into, and we plan. We're in talks with several. We're just waiting for the final approval of our environmental license before they'll bring equipment down. and we'll be able to start production on the mining side. And on the medical marijuana side, we will eventually are going to spin it out into its own public company. I've identified a public vehicle that we can merge it into, and we'll be making announcements accordingly.
Where did this concept for such a dynamic business strategy originate from?
Well, my partner, Rasmo, he found coal on his father's farm about 30 years ago, and he began applying for these mining titles when they weren't that attractive. In 2009, 2008, 2009, 2010, coal peaked in 2011. All of a sudden, these mining titles became very, there was an appetite for them, but he wasn't able to raise the money, so that's how we merged those mining concessions into New Columbia Resources to be able to raise money to develop them. And on the medical marijuana side, again, I was involved in several companies in the sector and believed that Columbia would be a player because we can grow all year round organically. Our low cost of production is certainly going to be a benefit.
Can you elaborate on the significance of the market or targeted applications for NEWC products?
Well, Colombia has the largest coal reserves in South America. It's strategically close to the United States. A ship can get to the U.S. in 2 days. Colombia has ports on both the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean, and again is a low-cost producer. And that's the same thing on the medical marijuana side. Colombia is a low-cost producer, can grow all year round, and I don't believe anybody can produce medical marijuana more cost-effectively than we can in Colombia.
Do you have any strategic alliances? If so, could you elaborate on the topic specifically focusing on what they bring to New Columbia Resources?
Yes, we have alliances with several universities in Colombia, and the benefit that they bring to us is that we're able to use their facilities, their professors, their students. There's a lot of credibility that comes along with that. We also have an alliance with Dr. Robert Melamede. He's our scientific advisor, and he brings a lot to the table because he was one of the early discoverers of the body's endocannabinoid system, and he really has a good feel on how the endocannabinoid system works and why cannabis reacts positively to it on certain ailments. So that's the benefit that he brings.
John, what are the long-term goals, say 1 to 5 years from now?
We expect to be generating revenue from our mining operations, rock mining operations more specifically, by the end of the summer. We're in talks on the coal side with coal companies in the United States that are interested in coming down and operating and entering into joint ventures with us. We also have an LOI with a Chinese company for $200 million to develop one of our mining concessions that we expect this year will turn into a definitive agreement at some point. That's where we are in the short term on the rock and the coal mining side. Now, on the medical marijuana side, we're already producing products where we legally do so on the Indian reservation, and we are waiting now for our export permit to be able to export so that we can sell outside of Colombia, because as right now, we cannot sell outside of the country.
But what do you think makes NEWC a good investment for potential investors?
Again, we plan on developing our mining operations to the point to where if it makes sense to spin it out or to sell off bits and pieces of it, we will. Right now, our goal is to develop it, generate revenue, and more importantly, generate a profit for our shareholders. So that when we do sell, we will have as high a multiple as we can. We also, on the medical marijuana side, we plan to eventually spin out Cannabis into its own public company and distribute some sort of dividend to our shareholders if it makes sense.
Okay, we've covered a lot of information. Is there anything else you'd like our audience to know about NEWC?
Well, I believe our company is undervalued right now. We have, again, $17 million or 17 million metric tons in coal assets in the ground that we can develop. We also have a tremendous growth opportunity on the medical marijuana side that I don't believe is being reflected in the stock price where we are right now. We operate on an Indian reservation in an area that was part of the conflict zone of Colombia. When the peace treaty is finally signed with the FARC, this area stands to benefit from a lot of international aid. And this area also needs to find a new crop, and believe it or not, medical marijuana seems to be that crop. Some of these guys have already been growing marijuana illegally, and what we're doing is we're helping them go from illegal to legal so that they can sustain their families and be a part of this new industry.
That's it for today's edition of Stock Traders Talk. We would like to thank you, Mr. Campo, for taking the time to speak to our audience. And we'd like to extend to you an open invitation to join us on the show in the future. I invite you to learn more about New Columbia Resources ticker symbol NEWC by visiting their website at www.newcolumbiaresources.com.